Dirty, dirty boy. Crying harmonics. Using what you got. We're all a bunch of nasty mother chuckers. So why are your synth sounds devoid of this character? Today, we're gonna go elbow deep into the grinding, gritty world of oscillator sync. Stay tuned. Hey, I'm Michael Carrillo, aka Hexspa. Welcome to my channel. Thank you to my long-term subscribers. And if you're new here, make your way to the description, find links that you can click to support me, and hit like and subscribe on your way there. Dirty is good. It's like the blues. The more that I talk about my pain, the better you feel. Or it's like comedians who go on and on about being broke or having hardships, and we laugh. It's because we bond in the pain domain. When I went to Berkeley Online, they talked about the pain-pleasure paradox. It seems like the more we use tritones, distortion, and all these things that you'd expect to create an uncomfortable musical situation, actually give us something to latch onto. Oscillator sync is an old technique. It comes from the days when hardware manufacturers were trying to make the most of the resources available. But it also has modern applications. For example, I follow deadmau5 on Instagram, and his social media team has been posting a track of his which has a very oscillator sync type sound in it. Basically, the way oscillator sync works is you set one of two oscillators. You need at least two oscillators. You set the mix to the second oscillator, okay? And then the first oscillator is set to the master, the second oscillator is the slave. And what happens is, every time the first oscillator goes through one period, defined by its pitch, cycles per second, it'll restart the second oscillator. So obviously, if the second oscillator is tuned to the same pitch as the first, they'll restart at the same time, so there'll be no difference in sound. But if the second oscillator is tuned to anything but an octave or a fifth, you'll get a more complex waveform, let's say a sawtooth. The second oscillator will come up, go down, and then before it's finished, it'll come up a little bit, and then go down, and then restart. So the fundamental pitch is the same, but what ends up happening is you get more harmonics. It's just like playing harmonics on a guitar string, where it's like doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, even though underneath it's the same fundamental. That's exactly what oscillator sync does. So in addition to how to set up oscillator sync, we'll go into using the modulators we've explored so far to make this parameter move over time automatically. If you haven't watched these easy synth programming videos, basically in the intro I try to sell you on the idea of learning this technique, and I give a little classroom lesson now. Next we're going to go into granular detail of each of these parameters. We'll do mini challenges together, and then towards the end I'll do the group challenges by myself. I'll just show you the answers, and what those are is you use your ear to decipher synth patches which use all the parameters we've learned so far. Then I'll wrap up at the end. I just want to mention we'll be using Syntorial to do these demonstrations, so if learning synths by ear sounds like your cup of tea, visit the description and you'll find an affiliate link there. On to the training. Hey, so in this tutorial we're going to be going over oscillator sync, in which case we turn the mix knob all the way to 2, so we're only going to hear oscillator 2. We're going to turn the sync on, and what that does is every time this saw wave goes through one cycle, it's going to restart this cycle of this oscillator. So we're only hearing this one right now. But when we turn it up, its waveform will be shorter, because this is time and this is amplitude. And so if you have more cycles over time, that's a higher frequency. So it's going to be shorter, but it'll go up, come down, and then start to come up again, but this longer one will reset it. So it's almost like having higher frequencies, more overtones. This oscillator sets this one to the same bass pitch, but tuning the semi-knob up changes the overtones. Let's listen. It's almost like you're playing it through some kind of flute or tube. And then you can also do it with pulse wave, which Joe says is more common. Of course, a more hollow sound because it only has odd harmonics. This comes from old synths, subtractive synths, where everything was physical, and they just wanted to get more sounds. Obviously, with subtractive synthesis, the goal is to create as much harmonic richness as you can before sending it through a filter. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's do some mini challenges. Two, oscillator sync. Maybe it's pulse. Another thing to note is that when the semi-knob is set to octaves and fifths, we're not going to get any additional overtones. Not sure on the math with that, but that's just how it is, as you can hear. Okay, the saw wave was a lot thinner here. So obviously when the semi-knob goes up to octaves and fifths, you don't get sync, but you do hear just the pure tone of the second oscillator. So I guess that makes sense. Sounds like a pulse to me. So for this demonstration, we're going to set up sync with pulse, and now we have a mod envelope, which we can assign to the pitch of oscillator 2. He's saying that the most common way to use it is just to set this to, this is 7 semitones, this is a major sixth. So we're still getting some sound, some sync sound, but now we're going to add some decay, because right now it's basically going up and down in 0 milliseconds, so you don't hear it. But then bring it here, and we get this little kind of attack. Or if you want it to raise up and come down, you can do that too. And we're not getting that steppy sound like, although that could be cool. Okay, so let's set that up to 9, pitch 2, going up pretty quick, coming down kind of slow.
Yeah!
Now we can set up sync, but now we have an LFO. Pitch oscillator 2, and we're going to set it to the midpoint, which is an octave and a fifth, and now we get this. Pretty heavy sound. That's down in the second octave. Says C2, this is C4. Or any of these different LFO shapes. Pretty fun. Let's do some mini challenges. Alright, so that's random, which means that it's sample and hold. We know it's pitch 2. Let's set up just the basic things here. So interestingly, with this LFO, the amount almost has to do more with the choppiness, but yeah, this one's tricky, but we're getting too many duplicate notes with the amount set down, so. Yeah! Okay, it's periodic, which means let's set up sync. Go clockwise here. Sawtooth. Pitch 2. Down, down. Quarter notes maybe. We don't have a sine wave. And one thing to keep in mind is that old synths didn't have sine waves because they were complex to implement. So we have a triangle instead. Okay. Obviously a square wave LFO. Quiz time. When using oscillator sync, which oscillator is the master? When using oscillator sync, what should the value of the mix knob be? Which oscillator's waveform has no effect on the oscillator sync sound? To modulate the oscillator sync effect, what LFO or mod envelope destination should you use? When using the mod envelope to modulate oscillators to pitch and sync mode, the mod envelope should be set to 9, and it should be set to 19. That's pretty heavy, so it's got to be pulse. Thinner. Again, pulse. Alright guys, thanks for watching this far. Hopefully this was helpful. I'll give you more details in the end, but from now I'm going to be doing the group challenges. I'll just show the answers. Obviously it's sync, oscillator sync mixed with all these other features. So for this patch, it looks like we nailed the one he said he was going to use filter and sync. So we set up sync to a sawtooth wave. We're using the mod envelope, so we set the semi to 9, turn the amount up with a somewhat long decay, and assign the LFO to the filter, which is in the middle. And we also turned up the sub oscillator. Really not that bad. Cool sound. Next patch. So Joe is tricky. He set the semi knob to 18, not 19, and then he assigned the pitch to oscillator 1, but still had sync on. Totally throwing us for a loop. I had to redo this patch like 4 times, but we got it. It's because if you set this to oscillator 2, it changes the grind. Instead, we just have a pitch modulation, so the grind is moving with the pitch here. Grind stays constant, but overall pitch moves. So, I think this is it. Next patch. Another sneaky patch. This one has oscillator sync set up with square wave. Let's listen to it. You can tell there's movement. There was clearly a sub oscillator and some filter movement, but it's not much filter movement. And the semi is set to 18 again. I don't know why he keeps doing that. But we do have some movement with the LFO on the oscillator sync. Just like the minimum amount. But we also have unison, which really kind of gave it its sound. So, because without it, let's turn this off. Oh, now I'm kind of wondering if there is any LFO. Let's listen to this. Let's listen without it. You know, I think it might be off. I'm not sure. It's very subtle. I think it might be off. But what do I know? Let's get a hint. Oh, it was off. Okay. Yeah! Next patch. Fun times with this one. It was... Obviously it's got filter. So the filter cutoff is pretty low with a long decay. Low sustain is 0. The release could be whatever. Doesn't matter. It's not turned up too much, so it's not going too high. It took me a while to set that. Oscillator sync with a pulse wave, and the semi at 9, like it should be. This is the one with legato, like he was warning us about, and we have the mod envelope giving us that sync sound. I'm not hearing any reverb or anything, so... Hint. Good. I think just one more patch. So actually we had 2 more patches to go. This is 5 of 6. It's a big reverb patch. It's got the mod envelope. Let's take a listen. Turn it down in here. It's actually kind of quiet. It's got a, you know, pretty long attack. It's got a decay. The amp envelope sustain is at 0. You can really hear that oscillator sync ripping through the reverb. Now whether I got the reverb right is a different story, but the amp envelope is also mirroring the decay. The decay in the mod envelope is also 5 seconds, turned up halfway. No LFO, no reverb. I don't think any chorus or unison. Definitely 4-note polyphony, as you can hear. Anyway, I think so. It's hard to tell. And yeah, no sub oscillator. So I think this is right. I might be a little wrong on the reverb. Not quite sure. It's hard to hear. But let's get a hint. I was right. All right. Now for sure, after this, one more patch. Yeah! And thank Christ, this one is easy. I think. So... LFO, pitch 2, amount max, rate fast, square wave, no reverb, legato portamento. Let's listen. I don't think the filter's down. I checked. You know, you can. I think you can hear aliasing up here. and it didn't sound... Sounds like you're just getting the full blast. Let's see if I'm right. I'm ready for a hint. Ah, the filter was down just a touch, huh? I couldn't tell. But hey, not bad. Let's end this. Over to you, Mike. Thanks for watching to the end. I hope this was helpful. Oscillator Sync plays on our need for dirt, distortion, and making use of limited resources. Try applying Oscillator Sync to your own synth patches. In the next video, we'll uncover 2 new sound design features which will give you not only more interesting synth sounds, but also help you improve your mixes. Thanks for watching. I'm Hexpa. Peace.